My daughter called me and said coldly, "We're leaving tomorrow. Your beach house has already been sold. Bye." My chest ached for a moment, but I steadied my voice and let out a quiet laugh. I pulled out the papers they had forgotten, proof stronger than any caption online, and that was only the beginning of what unfolded next. The waiting room smelled faintly of antiseptic and old coffee, the kind that lingers no matter how many times they wipe the counters. I sat beneath the hum of the air conditioner at New Hanover Primary Care, the late afternoon sun bleeding through the blinds and landing on the scuffed linoleum. The television mounted in the corner ran the weather report with the sound turned down, the newscaster's lips moving like a mime. A couple of older folks thumbed through dog-eared magazines, their names called every few minutes by the receptionist. Everything felt flat under those fluorescent lights, washed of color, like the day had given up. I held my planner on my lap, Medicare card tucked neatly in its sleeve, car keys swinging from my lanyard. I told the nurse earlier I'd only come for my blood pressure check. I'm a widow now, and I've learned to handle my own bills, my own time, my own health. My daughter and I, we don't talk much these days, except through short, dry texts about logistics. I reminded myself of a line my husband Thurman used to say when he played dominoes. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. That's how I've chosen to move through storms. The phone buzzed in my purse, sharp against the hum of the air. I pulled it out, saw her name, Valora Kane. My voice softened when I answered, "Hey, baby." Her tone came back clipped, businesslike. "We're leaving tomorrow. Your beach house has already been sold. Bye." The word landed hard, cutting through the hum of the room. For a moment, I couldn't hear the nurse calling the next patient's name. I couldn't see the bright posters about flu shots and fall prevention. All I heard was that one word, bye, like a door shutting without ceremony. I closed my eyes, breathing in through my nose, out through my mouth, the way older women at church taught me. "Don't let your pressure spike, honey," I said evenly. "But you forgot one thing." There was a pause on the other end, irritation leaking through her voice. "What are you talking about?" I let silence do the work, then ended it with, "We'll talk later." And I pressed the call off. No pleading, no raised tone. I logged her words in my head the way I used to write grocery lists. Precise. Exact. Without emotion. I slipped the phone back into my purse, smoothed the front of my skirt. My hands were steady. An older man sitting nearby leaned over and whispered, "You good, ma'am?" "I'm blessed. Just thinking," I said with a smile. When the nurse opened the door, I told her, "Let me come back Monday. Sugar?" My time, my body, I keep them on my terms. Stepping outside, I let the humid air wrap around me, the faint smell of salt drifting in from the coast. Somewhere past the low buildings, Wrightsville Beach shimmered in my imagination. I whispered again, "But you forgot one thing," testing how it sounded outside my head. It felt like holding a spare key in my pocket, driving home with the windows half down, the cicadas buzzing like a chorus. I let gospel radio hum low enough to steady me. My thoughts moved to the folder Valora once brought to my kitchen table, 2 months back. She and her husband Harlan had come in smiling, papers stacked in a plastic binder. "It's just for your supplemental insurance, Mama," she'd said. Harlan added, "We'll take care of the boring stuff, Miss Hollins." I remembered her finger sliding over a line. Power of attorney. My gut had twisted, but grief over Thurman's passing had clouded me. I signed twice, though I kept a copy, now, behind the wheel. I knew exactly which drawer held that folder. By the fridge, second from the top, the one that squeaks when you pull it open. I would look tonight. I didn't call anyone. No texts, no frantic words. Thurman always said after a long game, "Never show your whole hand." I repeated it to myself. I'd check my copy. I'd review county records. Tomorrow I'd call Eldon Price, the lawyer who never wasted words. I turned onto my street, porch lights glowing one by one, inside. I set my purse down, paused at Thurman's photo, and nodded. I heard her, and I heard you. When I opened the drawer, the pink tab on that folder caught the light. I pulled it out and laid it flat on the table. My eyes landed on the clause that betrayed more than Valora had said aloud. My jaw tightened. Steady as stone. The night air pressed heavy as I stepped onto my porch, cicadas humming their endless tune like a tired choir. Across the street, Claudette Maynor sat on her swing with a tall glass of iced tea, the condensation sliding down the side. She raised her chin in that southern way that carried both question and concern. "Evening. Baby, you okay?" she asked, her tone soft but full of meaning. Folks around here didn't need to spell out that they'd heard something. They just asked if you were okay. I crossed the street, gravel crunching under my shoes, and settled onto her steps. My voice stayed steady. "I'm not here to fuss, just want to get the story straight." Her eyes flicked toward the other porches. Neighbors were suddenly watering plants that didn't need water or fussing with chairs that didn't need fussing. Everybody listening. Claudette leaned forward, lowering her voice. "I heard Valora at Harris Teeter. She told the cashier the house is gone, papers signed, and they're off to Europe tomorrow." A woman 2 doors down piped up from her swing. "I heard they're moving you to a condo. Miss Hollins, that's what she told my sister." My palms rested on the porch rail, calm as Sunday's service. "Thank you for telling me. What else?" Claudette hesitated, then said, "They told folks the upkeep was too much for you, that the closing's already done." The phrase echoed in my head. The closing's done. I tucked it away like a receipt I'd need to pull later. A man leaned back in his chair. Cap pushed up. "That's rough. Miss Hollins." His words sealed the humiliation. It was out there now. Not whispered, but stamped in public. I asked questions the way older folks do when we want clarity without drama. "Who said that? What day? Around what time? Anybody else there?" Claudette gave names, times, even showed me a picture she'd snapped of Valora laughing by her cart. I asked, polite, if I could write it down. She nodded. I pulled my spiral notepad from my cardigan pocket, jotting dates, phrases, and details as if I were recording a sermon. I smiled, not bitter, but firm. "I appreciate y'all telling me. Better to hear it straight." Back inside, I sat at my kitchen table and opened Facebook. My breath caught. The family banner had changed. Valora and Harlan on the pier, smiling like royalty, my face, my presence gone. I clicked through Thanksgiving photos. My arm cropped out, my seat empty as if I'd never been there. The about line now read, "Our little team, building our future." Cruel in its simplicity, I clicked View Edits, and there it was, Valora's name, time-stamped. I wasn't just erased in spirit, I was erased by keystroke. Notifications glared, "You were removed as an admin." That was the digital version of locking a door in my face. I took screenshots, backed them up on my laptop, emailed them to myself. Everything preserved. My folder system, 202407 house claim, now had its first entries. I spoke aloud, testing my script. I'm not arguing, I'm verifying. Words matter, especially when you're fighting with calm precision. I prepared my tomorrow. Check the county deed, call Eldon Price, print copies, buy a binder. My answers to nosy questions rehearsed. "I appreciate your concern, I have it handled." Standing by Thurman's photo, I whispered his old line, "Never show your whole hand till the count is right." My chest rose and fell slow. Deliberate control, not chaos. Then came the ping. A calendar invite lit my phone. Averly's birthday party, guest list attached. My name wasn't on it. Immediate family only. I didn't cry, I didn't plead. I saved the invite, evidence. And as the porch light flicked on across the street, I felt the truth steady in my bones. They forgot one thing. The house never forgot who built it. Neither did I. The morning sun slid through the blinds, laying gold stripes across my kitchen table. I wrapped my hands around a mug of coffee, steam curling toward the ceiling. Before I touched a single paper, I strapped on my blood pressure cuff, squeezed the bulb, and watched the numbers. Steady, that was the rule. Head first, heart later, once satisfied. I spread everything out, the pink-tabbed folder, my notepad from the porch, the screenshots of those edited Facebook photos, my laptop Word awake as I created new folders. Deed, POA, social, witness. A fresh manila envelope lay to the side, labeled in my own blocky Sharpie. Organization was survival. I looked toward Thurman's picture on the wall. "You left me something," I whispered. "Today I'll find it." I slid the pink tab out carefully. A heavier sheet of paper caught the light, embossed with a notary seal, edges firmer than the flimsy copies Valora had pushed across my table months back. Thurman's handwriting curved across the margin, dating the transfer into our family trust. My name sat on the line of managing member. The clause was simple: no conveyance valid without managing member consent. My consent, and I hadn't given it. I compared the stamp to past packets stored in my closet. Everything lined up: the spacing, the ink, the font. I scanned it. Titled the file 2024 LLC Primary Deed, PDF, and saved it to a flash drive. Holding the paper, I murmured, "That house wasn't yours to sell, baby." I didn't say it in anger. I said it as fact. I turned to the county's Register of Deeds website, typing in the parcel number. The records flickered onto the screen. No transfer, no sale. The only recent change was a lien release from last year, just the refinance we had wrapped up before Thurman passed. I printed the summary and index page, tucking them into my envelope. At the bottom of my notes, I wrote, "Claim, closing done. Status, no record found. Facts in order." My phone pinged with junk from a title company. White noise. I archived it and sent Claudette a quick message. "Got it, handling it, thank you." Simple boundary. No gossip fuel. By 11, I was downtown. Eldon Price's office smelled faintly of wood polish and old law books. Diplomas lined paneled walls, their frames straight and sure. He shook my hand firmly, the way older lawyers know to reassure without words. I laid the embossed deed and Facebook screenshots on his desk. He studied them, pen tapping softly. "If someone tried to sell without your signature, Miss Hollins, any so-called closing is smoke." I handed him the copy of Valora's power of attorney. He nodded. "Check the dates and scope. Limited, not durable. This doesn't touch real estate." He scribbled next steps in plain English for me. "Pull certified copies. Prepare a notarized statement. Set alerts. Issue a quiet letter before court. Say nothing back on social," he added. "Let paper speak." I left his office steadier than I'd walked in. Back home, I drafted a text to Valora. "Stop saying the house is sold." My thumb hovered, then I deleted it. Silence was strength. Instead, I wrote myself a voicemail script for nosy calls. "I'm not discussing family matters. Thank you for understanding." I taped Eldon's bullet list to my fridge, slid the original deed into a fireproof pouch, and set alerts for courthouse errands. Lunch was simple tuna salad and water. Fuel, not comfort. Then my inbox chimed. "Closing confirmation. Tomorrow, 2:00 p.m. Wrong parcel number, but my street address bold on the line. My stomach tightened, but my hand stayed calm. I forwarded it to Eldon. "Yours or bluff?" His reply came in seconds. "Not mine. Sloppy or strategic. Do not respond. I'll handle." I set the phone down. Steady, this storm would pass on paper, not shouting. Sliding the deed back into its pouch, I reached for my keys. If they wanted to stage a show tomorrow, I'd be there. Quiet. Watching. Ready. The late afternoon sun washed the church hall in warm light as I parked across the street. I was 5 minutes early on purpose. I wasn't there to crash a child's birthday, only to stand in plain sight and make sure the record was clear. On the passenger seat rested a pastel gift bag, card signed neat. Z. Hollins. No mom, no flourish, just clean, adult respect. I stepped out, snapped a photo of the entrance sign with the date stamp glowing on my phone, then drew a long breath. 4 counts in, 6 counts out. "No speeches today," I murmured. "Just facts." At the covered walkway, a volunteer glanced at her clipboard. "Immediate family only. Ma'am, you must be—" "Zelma Hollins. I'm here to drop off a gift for Averly," I answered. Palms open. She hesitated, but before she spoke, Harlan appeared, that stiff smile plastered on his face. "We've got this handled, Miss Hollins. Just leave it here. We're keeping things small." "Of course," I said smoothly. "Would you mind noting the date and time of delivery? I'll wait." Valora slid behind the volunteer, whispering as though I were causing a scene. "Please don't make this difficult." Her words were soft enough for the room, sharp enough for me. Folks nearby turned their eyes, then quickly looked away. That silence stung worse than anything. I nodded once. Logging the time, the name of the volunteer, and her exact phrase in my notepad later. Then the doors burst open. Averly ran out, stickers on her cheek, ribbons in her braids. "Nana Zelma," she squealed. Darting forward, for a heartbeat she froze, eyes flicking to Harlan, waiting for his signal. He gave a stiff nod. She wrapped her arms around me. In her whisper, honest and unguarded, came the knife. "Daddy said you don't belong here. Mommy said you don't own anything anymore." I steadied my breath, smoothing her hair. "Baby, grown folks say things they'll regret. You just enjoy your day." I placed the gift bag in her hands. My face stayed soft so she wouldn't carry their bitterness back inside with her balloons and cake. Valora swept in, all smile and control, steering Averly back inside. I recorded nothing of the child, only the adults who fed her those words. A deacon in a navy blazer approached, his voice low. "Sister, you all right?" The code meant, "I saw, and I'll stand if you need." "I'm blessed," I told him evenly. "Would you initial that she received the gift?" He did, and I snapped a picture of his mark. Parents filed past with plates and balloons, and I angled away so no one could claim I blocked the door. I took one last photo of the event sign. Family only. The deacon cleared his throat toward Harlan, reminding him whose house this was supposed to be. I shook his hand and walked to my car. Dignity doesn't shout, it steps back quietly. Inside the car, I dictated every detail into my voice memo, attaching photos to an email I sent to myself. Subject line, church hall exclusion date. I texted Eldon, gift delivered, turned away, witness secured, water bottle in hand. I steadied my pulse. Today wasn't for fighting. Today was for documenting. At the red light on Oleander Drive, my phone pinged. Valora's account lit my feed, a champagne emoji, a suitcase. The caption starting with, "Goodbye, old." I refused to open it there. My hand stayed at 10 and 2. I whispered, "You forgot one thing." Paper carries a heavier weight than posts, and I had the seal. The kitchen clock ticked steady as I sat back down at my table that evening. I opened the notification I'd ignored at the red light, and there it was, a boomerang of a rolling suitcase, a champagne glass raised against a sunset pier. The caption read, "Goodbye, old junk. Hello, Europe." I took my time, screenshotting the image, the handle, the location tag, even the timestamps. My fingers scrolled slowly, recording the first 15 comments, each one a small wound, hearts, clapping hands, notes like, "You deserve it." I screen recorded the scroll to preserve the order. I didn't reply. Didn't even press like, I only saved it. Named the file S4, public claim log, and sent it to myself. "Let them talk," I whispered. Paper would talk louder. Not 10 minutes later, Claudette's message arrived with a screenshot attached. "Thought you'd want the receipt, baby." She knew what mattered. Neighbors had chimed in under the post. Words dressed like compliments but meant to sting. "So proud you're taking charge for your mama." My chest tightened, not from fear but from the ache of being rewritten while still alive. I clicked view edits again. There it was. A caption tweak. "Cleaning up the past." Minutes later it vanished, replaced with the Europe line. I captured both. On my notepad, I logged who boosted, who hedged, and who stayed silent. Silence is data too. I placed the phone face down and sipped water. Pressure steady, heart calm, then the phone rang. Valora's voice poured out, too bright, too brittle. "Mom, can we not do the dramatic church stuff? You're too old for all this. We'll handle it." "Language matters," I said, even. "So does title." Before I could breathe, Harlan's voice slid onto the line, conference call without permission. "Miss Hollins, you'll be comfortable wherever we land you. Europe's a once-in-a-lifetime." "So is wisdom," I replied, "and consent." I repeated her caption back to them, word for word. Silence followed like a slap. Valora finally exhaled sharp through her nose. "You won't even remember these details a month from now." "I remember every word," I told her. "And I keep copies." Then I ended the call myself. Firm, polite, final. I turned to my desk. An email to Eldon carried the attachments. Screenshots, edit history. Call notes, bullet points only. No emotion, folders were renamed. S4, post, S15, ageist call. Underneath I slid a printed copy of the deed clause. Title outranks captions. Tomorrow I'd stop at the courthouse for certified copies, then the bank to lock originals in a safe deposit box. I drafted but did not send a single line to Valora. Stop using the words old. Silence was my strategy. That night, small humiliations arrived like mosquitoes. A message from a neighbor's friend. So happy you're downsizing, freedom. Screenshot, logged, muted. A voicemail from a spam number chirped about a final walkthrough. I saved the audio and forwarded it to Eldon. Legit or theater? I tidied my living room. Papers neat. Table clear. Clarity required order. I prayed one quiet line. Keep my mouth from foolishness and my feet from stumbling. Then I brewed tea and laid out a blouse for tomorrow. The black binder slid into my purse, its weight more steadying than anger could ever be. My phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. Bon voyage potluck at the condo clubhouse. Tomorrow, 6 p.m., family only. I wrote 2 words on a sticky note, bring copies, and tucked it into the binder. I switched off the kitchen light, leaving one lamp glowing near the door. Tomorrow, their room would hold more than cake and clapping. It would hold the claws. The condo clubhouse smelled of sheet cake and sunscreen when I stepped inside that evening. My tote bag hung at my side, the black binder snug within it. A banner strung across the far wall read, Bon Voyage, Europe, and a Bluetooth speaker played some tinny beach pop. Folding tables sagged with casseroles, chips in bowls, plastic forks stacked in red Solo cups. I nodded at whoever met my eyes, offering only a polite, evening. No chatter, no small talk. I wasn't here for that. A gift card in a plain envelope I placed quietly on the side table. No performance attached. I positioned myself by the window. Back straight, breath steady, 4 in, 6 out. My voice would land when it needed to. I lifted my phone, taking 2 wide shots, banner, cake, and the whiteboard scrawled with, House sold, next chapter. Someone had doodled a champagne glass beside it. A neighbor chirped, So exciting! And I smiled soft. Who wrote the whiteboard? I asked. They gave me a name, and I logged it in my notepad. Harlan drifted over, wearing his pressed smile. We didn't expect you, Miss Hollins. I won't take up your time, I said. I'm just here to be accurate. I set my tote on an empty 6-foot table, unzipped the binder, and laid the papers inside ready to breathe. Then Valora tapped a spoon against her glass, smiling like the hostess she wanted to be. We did the hard part, decluttering, selling, moving on, fresh start. The room clapped politely. I walked forward, calm, and placed the deed with the embossed seal flat on the table. The thud was soft, but it cut the chatter clean. You forgot one thing, I said evenly. This house cannot be conveyed without my written consent. That consent does not exist. Silence fell sharp. I laid the county index printout beside it. Register of Deeds shows no valid transfer. Then I slid out the screenshot of her goodbye old junk caption. Title outweighs captions, paper beats performance. My words carried low, but they reached every corner. Harlan leaned in, voice tight. This is not the time, Miss Hollins. When a lie gets a microphone, I replied. Truth deserves a table. Valora laughed brittle. Mom, you don't understand modern closings. It's all digital now. Digital or not, signatures still matter, I said, pointing to the clause. And mine is the one that matters. A neighbor whispered. Is this legal? Yes, I answered plainly. And simple. My palms stayed open, my tone steady. One clear line. You may celebrate anything you like. You may not celebrate theft. The door opened. Eldon Price entered. Navy suit, leather briefcase in hand, he nodded to me, then to the room. Without flourish, he placed a sealed envelope beside my deed. Courtesy copy for Miss. Kane and Mr. Quince. Cease and desist. Notice of interest, draft injunction, he added. Any attempt to cloud title triggers immediate filing. Certified copies already requested. Then he placed a second envelope in front of me. Stamped copies for your records. His eyes met Valora's briefly. Ma'am, you'll want counsel? The room shifted. The Bluetooth track stuttered. Forks paused mid-air. I thanked Eldon. He left as quietly as he came. No sermon, just paper. I gathered only what was mine. No cake, no banner, no whiteboard. 2 quick photos of the documents on the table. Faces cropped out. I looked at the neighbors who'd met my eyes earlier and nodded once. If you have questions, I said evenly, the Register of Deeds is public. Good night. Valora muttered. "You're ruining everything." "No, baby," I answered, zipping the binder back into my tote. "I'm repairing it." Then I walked out the same way I walked in, steady, deliberate. The summer air hit my face, crickets sang, and the salt breeze brushed against me like a hymn. My phone buzzed before I reached my car. An email from Eldon. "Filed draft held, underwriter notified." A text followed. "Expect courier by morning. Do not answer calls tonight." At my porch, the light flickered once. Claudette stood waiting, her hand resting on the railing, news in her eyes. Tomorrow would be louder, but tonight, the silence was mine. At 9 sharp, the courier knocked. A thick packet hit my doormat, heavier than any casserole dish I'd ever carried. I signed, snapped a photo of the envelope against the mat, and wrote down the exact time. Inside, Eldon's cover letter. Stamped copies, cease and desist, notice of interest, injunction draft, instructions for service. I set the papers on my kitchen table, binder open. The embossed seal gleamed under the morning light. I called Eldon on speaker. His voice steady, crisp. "Process server scheduled within the hour. Don't argue. Just witness." I logged his words into my spiral notebook. Oatmeal, a glass of water, 1 peppermint tucked into my purse for when my mouth went dry. Older body, younger nerves. Preparation keeps both steady. At the condo lobby, the property manager shifted behind the desk, binder of files in hand. A small sign read, "Appointments only." The civil process server clipped his badge to his belt, confirmed IDs, explained posting protocol if the door was refused. I stepped back against the wall, toed at my feet. I didn't sit, didn't lean. My posture said witness, not participant. 2 neighbors walked their dogs through, slowing when they spotted Harlan's name on the clipboard. The manager whispered, "Chatter online is thick." I answered plain. "Chatter isn't title." I wrote today's header in my notebook. Service, unit ###, date, time. 3 blank lines waited for the server's exact words. The elevator dinged. Out stepped Harlan, phone glued to his ear. Valora trailing in sunglasses, chin lifted like a shield. They stopped cold at the desk. The server introduced himself, voice firm but calm, stating he had documents regarding the beach house and LLC. Harlan tried the squeeze-through. "We're on a call. We don't have time." The server didn't flinch. "Service doesn't need your time, sir. Only your attention." He read aloud. Cease and desist on claiming the property as sold. Notice of interest recorded. Warning of injunction if records were touched. He offered copies. Valora refused. He posted one on their doorframe, handed another to the manager. I wrote down his exact phrase. "Any attempt to cloud title triggers immediate filing." The hallway went still. Residents lingered, no longer pretending not to hear. In the hall, Harlan peeled at the notice. The server warned. "Tampering is a violation. Jaw tight." He reattached it. Valora spun on me. "You came to humiliate me?" I met her eyes, voice even. "I didn't say a word. Paper did." Her face twisted. "You're cruel," I answered. "No, I'm accurate, ma." A neighbor whispered. "So the house wasn't sold?" A ripple moved down the hall, optics shifting without me raising my voice. "If you have questions," I added, "the Register of Deeds is public." I stepped back to the elevator, palm open. Voice calm. Back in the lobby, my phone buzzed. Eldon's email. "Underwriter notified. Title company withdrew. Closing file marked do not insure." A second ping showed the clubhouse post quietly edited from house sold to new adventures ahead. I recorded the change before it cleaned itself. Yesterday's cheerleaders had gone silent. The manager thanked the server, then me, for clarity. Not drama, I left steady, not gloating, late afternoon. Claudette rocked on her porch swing, iced tea glowing in the sun. "Baby," she said, "your daughter's telling folks you're headed to a nursing home." That's how she explained the sale. My hand gripped the rail. I didn't let anger run first. She gave names, places, times, checkout line, church lot. She offered to write it down. I nodded, voice soft. "That's not love. That's cover." I circled the phrase in my notebook. Nursing home. One line carried all my backbone. I'm not a burden to be stored. I'm the woman who built the house. At dusk, a clerk's voice on the line set my next step. "Emergency hearing Thursday at 9:30 a.m. I repeated it back, wrote it on my fridge board. texted Eldon, hearing set, originals ready. Valora's voicemail came minutes later, thinner than steel. Mom, we need to talk. Please call me. I saved it without reply. Silence wasn't spite. It was strategy. On my porch, crickets sang. I laid out my navy skirt, low heels, and binder. Claudette's pending statement slid into the front pocket. I sat with the evening air and whispered, tomorrow. Paper doesn't just talk, it sings. The morning air outside the courthouse carried the faint smell of rain. Though the sky stayed dry, I sat upright on the wooden bench, binder balanced on my lap, my breath moving steady. 4 in, 6 out. Eldon Price appeared with his folder tucked under his arm, nodding once before reviewing the checklist. Deed with embossed seal, certified index copies, screenshots, and Claudette's witness statement about the nursing home rumor. He asked me to practice 2 lines. Yes, Your Honor. No, I didn't consent. That was all. When Valora and Harlan arrived, their steps too fast to look casual. I didn't shift. I simply wrote the time in my notebook. The clerk called the matter, and Eldon touched my elbow. A signal without words. It was Paper's turn to speak. Inside the courtroom, Eldon's voice held firm. He began with the consent clause, lifting the certified copy for the judge. No conveyance without managing members' written consent, he said, and that consent is absent. He handed over the index printout, pointing to instrument numbers. Screenshots came next, Valora's caption, the edit log, and the clubhouse whiteboard with its claim of sale. He included Claudette's sworn note, detailing who repeated the nursing home story and where. My part was small but exact. When asked, I answered, Yes, Your Honor, I reviewed title records. And then, No, Your Honor, I did not grant consent. Valora's side tried to mumble about digital processes, but the judge cut clean through. Where is consent? The silence behind me carried the answer. The judge leaned forward. Temporary injunction granted. No representations of sale. No filings implying transfer. Title to remain unclouded. His gavel was firm, his voice sharper still. Violation will trigger sanctions. Show cause hearing in 30 days if needed. He ordered certified service to title companies, underwriters, anyone connected. My daughter's lips pressed thin. Harlan's phone stayed face down. Eldon whispered in my ear as we left. We'll file the copies this afternoon. Insurers already have the red flag. I walked out with the order in my hand. No triumph on my face, just the weight lifting quietly from my chest. In the corridor, Valora stepped toward me, voice unsteady. Mom, we didn't mean... I held up my palm, calm and final. For 30 days, follow the order. After that, we'll talk about consequences. She blinked, and I continued. No more public claims. No more nursing home talk. If anyone asks, you say. We were mistaken. Harlan tried to speak, but I stopped him with one sentence. The judge already spoke. Then I leaned close enough for Valora alone to hear. Your attempt triggered a clause your father and I signed. Any heir who tries to wrongfully convey loses future income from the property. Her eyes widened, and I ended it with, that will be in writing. I turned away without looking back. That evening at home, I set the court order beside Thurman's framed photograph. The lamp glow touched both like a hymn. I opened a bottle of wine we had saved, his handwriting still on the cork, for something worth the wait. I poured one glass, lifted it to the photo. We kept our promise. Love, paper before noise. I texted Claudette, thanking her for her statement and asking her to join me for tea. Then I drafted the letter through Eldon, removing Valora from the beach house income for 5 years, subject to apology and compliance in balance. I directed a small trust fund for Averly's education. A child should not carry her parents' debts. Before sunset, I drove to the beach house. The sky wore the faded red of an old choir robe. I changed the smart lock code, legal and logged, then placed a framed note on the mantel. Consent lives here. Walking through the rooms, I smelled salt and pine, heard echoes of domino games. I opened a new notebook labeled Averly, Summer Reading, Tide Charts, Shells. On the porch, I laughed once, not cruel, clean. You can't sell what you never owned. At home, I set the empty glass in the sink, wrote tomorrow's list on the counter. Call insurance, book weekend, teach Averly the tide. My shoulders eased. the house quiet around me. The last laugh wasn't mine alone. It belonged to the truth that never bent.